Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. This, of course, is going to be your daily cryptocurrency market update, and as always, we have a lot to get into. Today is a big day. Of course, we've got the reveal of the US CPI coming out. You guys know that we do expect this to be significantly lower than 4.9, which was the last print. I would say 4.3 sub. We have been following true inflation. You know, this is part of what we've used inflation to kind of build our macro story and narrative. And the markets broadly have followed it pretty damn well. Of course, we know the altcoin market got particularly smashed due to everything that happened with the lawsuits against Binance and Coinbase. And we know the story there. There's a lot of funny business going on with the altcoin and crypto market as it relates to regulatory oversight. Doesn't make a great deal of sense, the whole thing. However, what does make sense to me is the fact that Gensler is there not to serve the people, but the special interests, and I believe he's ultimately stalling this industry from what we'll move on to after that, which is where it's going. Yesterday, we heard from the Bank of Canada that they issued $28 million worth of bonds on Ethereum. Tokenized US Treasury bills are here, ladies and gentlemen. The entire world is moving towards blockchain. I always get this question, well, what's the real use case for blockchain? Any industry that you can improve and have a trustable, auditable, verifiable accounting system that works itself. This industry changes. If you think of an industry that could do with updating their payment system, their accounting systems, their trustability systems, you can literally streamline pretty much any industry with blockchain. This tech, again, right now we're talking on a computer. We're doing that. You can see me through a camera, which was a revolution, on a computer, which was a revolution, over the internet, which was a revolution. In the same way, blockchain in years to come, not that many years, by the way, I don't think, guys, certainly if we get CBDCs and integration, which are coming, whether we like them or not, with the blockchain space, everyone's going to be using a blockchain without even knowing it. Just like when you drive your car, you don't really think about how much of a magnificent revolution that was. So we will be talking about all that. Of course, we're going to be looking at some clips from Sergey, talking about the bonds, looking at true inflation, then we'll finish things off with kind of the analysis on the CPI and what we think is coming today and tomorrow. You guys know that we're long and strong. We took a long position back into the markets at the start of the year. Yes, some altcoins did put a marginally lower low in due to the regulatory nightmare. Some, not all, Bitcoin, total market cap, totally intact, very much in the direction we think it's going. Stock market's doing exactly what we think gold is, etc., etc. When we look at CPI and the pause, we'll look at the stock market, of course, again, in regards to where rates have actually stopped and what that's done. So let's not waffle on for too much longer on this triumphant Tuesday. Let's get into it all. So this is not going to be very chart focused. You guys will know that 30K resistance was very much expected. So was a 25K-ish neckline retest. You saw a very similar thing, and we think actually the stock market in many ways is leading the crypto markets. You've come into resistance, you've come back to test it, and now you're going to see that upside. And today and tomorrow could be the very catalyst. Could be. Don't hold me to that. Ultimately, we think stock market's doing well. Stock market's potentially, or S&P's further behind than the likes of Microsoft. Apple, people still say, where's this horrific bear market everybody keeps talking about? We know what happened with altcoins, but altcoins are very small, often illiquid, certainly when you have big market makers taking out markets that have been persecuted by regulators, and they still haven't gone in to put anything like a significant, if we use Cardano, for example, lower low. Yes, this was horrific, but ultimately you're back where you were in January, and you can look across the board. Algorand's a bit of an example, but the likes of Polkadot, which we're a big fan of, Ethereum, so on and so forth, everything still looks very much intact. And as we set out for it, the only market that we slightly were not expecting a new lows for some altcoins on was the altcoin market, but we've got every other market spot on, and we still expect our plan to play out. We think new all-time highs for the stock market, and we think gold actually is on the precipice of new all-time highs and going to do very well. How's that doing for your bear market? Yes, certain altcoins clearly haven't exited them yet. However, the general cryptocurrency market we do assess has. We'll know, and I was going to play this clip, but there's some music over it. I don't want to get copyrighted. This was the congressional hearing that Gensler was submitted to, and he was asked if Ethereum was security 1,000,001 times. Very interesting, this clip that's now floating around this morning. We know that they are, House of Republicans try to oust Gensler with a new bill. They're not going to get rid of Gensler. He was put there for a reason. Very coincidental, he went to teach blockchain technology at MIT and then ended up with that job. He also applied for Binance's chief compliance officer. I'm sure many of you didn't know that. But this is him talking about securities, Ethereum, and a number of other cryptos. That's very interesting. I want to play that because I honestly don't think that he's going to come out and they're going to win any lawsuits that are brought. I don't think they're going to win the XRP lawsuit. I think that's going to put a huge slant on things. Watch what the market does under those pretexts or under that context. You know, we have been accumulating crypto, and it's not because we think it's going to go on and crash and we're worried. You know, we have an ultimate goal, plan, macro analysis in hand, and anybody that wants to find out more about that, get on board with the weekly meetings and involve with me, please do consider joining the Patreon. Very reasonable price for what you get. But anyway, this is Gensler talking about Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, and why he named them. Very interesting. Let's play the clip.
Over 70% of the crypto market is Bitcoin, Ether, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash. Why did I name those four? They're not securities. Over 70% of the crypto.
Very interesting how he could answer that question back in 2018, and when he was pressed by Congress, he couldn't. There's currently a bill to get rid of Gensler. I don't think that will happen. But I honestly think all of this is a distraction from broadly what's going on here. And this is, and I'll be 100% honest with people, from an investment point of view, what we really got right more than anything wasn't necessarily timing. And I'm talking, you know, pretext, last bear market, last bull market, all that sort of stuff, you know, 2017 onwards, was understanding really what's going on here and how it's going to change the world, and investing and looking into projects that were going to play a big role in that. Chainlink was a coin that I remember picking up for cents. We can post proof, by the way, on all of this. You know, we're going to make an XRP video later and people go, oh, you know, now you just warmed up for XRP. It's basically where it was back in the prior bear market still. And not only that, you know, we were, some of my first buys, I was a big XRP fan at one point, but then sort of shifted as I thought a lot of the kind of narrative around it was just insanity. But perhaps some of that may be coming true. We'll do a video on that later. But if you understand really what's going on here, guys, you're going to do very, very well. Crypto is absolutely gripping the world. Like I say, any industry that uses accounting, uses payments, has any kind of trust interaction, which many of them do, supply chains, you name it, security, crypto can change and will change. This is a clip of Sergey, who, of course, we've been doing a lot of looking into Chainlink's CCIP and how we think this could become a standard for not just blockchains to interoperate with, but the real world and the blockchain, and in a seamless way of doing it. Chainlink brought real world data to the blockchain space. They're now bringing real world use cases to the blockchain space. Very interesting. I think they're going to be largely successful. And we've looked at the link token yesterday. Please go and check that video out. But let's play this clip of Sergey, because this is really what's going on here. We'll talk about the big news from the Bank of Canada, and then we'll finish on some macro stuff.
Do you expect more banks and payments processors to adopt blockchain and distributed ledger technologies in the long term? And what's in it for them in terms of benefits?
In the long term, I think it's absolutely inevitable that all the value in the global financial system will be on a blockchain because of its security, transparency, and user control, risk management properties.
Right. This is what we're talking about. Okay? There are trillions. I'm not saying that the crypto market cap's going to get to hundreds of trillions. Who knows? Maybe in the future, possibility. But what I am saying is this industry is going to run and operate and secure hundreds of trillions of dollars worth of value. And what's the value for that? What's the value of something like Ethereum if, you know, a quarter of the world's bonds are on it? So on and so forth. You know, and it becomes a yielding asset and then becomes, and then it also gets accepted. Part of what we're going through right now of regulatory uncertainty is part of what happens with any asset class on the road to mainstream adoption. This is something that we've been harping on about now for 7 years. And each day we get a step closer and closer to it. And even though the lawsuit is very negative, very unfair, people like to use the word unfair, you know, anyway, it is to a degree, but at the same time, this is part of any revolution. You know, if you look at the motoring industry, we always bring this up. At one point, you needed 3 people to operate a car, and one of their jobs, or it might have been 2 of them, needed to hold red flags in either hand and signal. So this is coming, guys. Stay focused on that. Ultimately, we still are long on the crypto space. I think this year is going to be a great one, and we'll look at that when we talk about the macro.
So in the long term, all banks and all payment systems will be on a blockchain because that's the superior way for them to interact. In the medium term, I think they're going to need technology to connect them into those systems. And in the near term, which is what we're working on, the technology to connect them properly into all of those systems. And in the near term, there's a multitude of short-term view dynamics around the cryptocurrency industry and other parts of blockchain technology that isn't fully understood. So I think in the long term, it's an inevitability because it gives users control over their assets, which is going to be increasingly valuable in a risky global financial environment. It creates transparency about what's going on with risk, and we're going to see more risk problems, and that's going to lead to the demand for transparency on a technical level. And it actually opens them up to entirely new global markets like DeFi and others, which are only going to grow. So there's more money to be made in larger markets, there's better risk management, and there's actual control and ownership of assets without third parties being able to keep them from you. So for all those reasons, it's in the long term a complete and total inevitability.
Amen. Couldn't have said it better myself. We had some very interesting news from the Bank of Canada issues a $280 million in digital structure notes on Ethereum blockchain. The securitized tokens are governed by the Hong Kong and Swiss law. You can see here, tokenized US Treasury bills are entering emerging markets. User can withdraw deposit after awaiting for 5 days. A way to earn sustainable yield has landed in Southeast Asia. Crypto asset management platform FinBlocks is bringing tokenized US treasuries to emerging markets across Southeast Asia. Very interesting. Of course, today is the day of the CPI. The expectations, I believe, around about, I think I've seen some as high as 4.7 to the low end, 4.1. I think 4.3 and below you're likely going to get. I think the markets will enjoy this, and we think this is likely going to spur on rates going sideways. We've not seen any other channel talk about this, guys. Not one, in regards to what happens when the rate goes sideways. Mostly because a lot of them are bears, and they don't want to even fathom the idea that they could be wrong, having had their pants pulled down for the past, what are we, 6 months into the year now? For the stock market, it's been since November. You've been on the wrong side of the market, and we think it gets a whole lot wronger. This is essentially what happens when rates go sideways. We've done all this analysis. We think the same thing's going to happen. We have technical structure for the stock market to do that. We think gold is literally on the precipice of new all-time highs and is going to take them. Bitcoin will bask in that sun. If you look at Bitcoin, it's not done badly at all. The altcoin market, however, if we go through the totals, and I'll take the draw off, has got smashed. So this is total. This is total outside of Bitcoin. And this is total outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum. So the altcoin market, we know the issues there. We'll see what comes out. I personally don't think what Gens is saying is making much sense at all. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Ripple case. We know the Hinman documents are out now. And ultimately, we'll see what this week brings. We'll see what the data brings. The CPI should be coming out half an hour after this video. That's really all we've got for you guys. Remember what's really going on here. It's very important to maintain that kind of a toughness. I mean, if you understand that, you're going to understand that, there's volatility attached with it. Ultimately, we remain long. We think that the market's going to do well over the remainder of the year, and that fundamentally where we disagree with people calling for a crash now is that we think the crash comes later on. Could be 12, 24, who knows how many months ahead. And what you're going to do, sit out the markets and not enjoy the opportunity that's at hand. That's really up to you. On that note, I'm going to love and leave you. If you've enjoyed the content, like, appreciate it. So as a comment, please do check out the Patreon. See you all in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching.